Okay, could you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we start this meeting, I would like to ask for a moment of silence. We have unfortunately lost one of our own here. Keri Riley, a town meeting member, passed away unexpectedly recently. So if we could have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay, let's go through our usual housekeeping motions here. The moderator would consider a motion to allow members to attend virtually per the ADA, that Bruce Morey be named deputy moderator should it be needed, that we will adjourn until Monday, February 2nd, should we not complete our business tonight, and that we allow voting by raising hand instead of standing. All in favor? At least a couple stand up, please. All right. Opposed? Thank you. Okay. I would like to thank our helpers. Before I forget, Claire, Salvidio, Kai Jaya, Brady Casas, and Eric Kilburn. Thank you for your efforts tonight. And our usual protocol, should one wish to speak, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized for the moderator, that all discussions go through the moderator. Committees and boards speak through the chair, and that is who I will recognize unless the chair indicates someone else would be doing the speaking. And I think that's about it. So I guess we can start our business. We'll start with Article 1. Reports of town officers and committees. We have two, one from Economic Development and one from the Government Review Committee. So, Ms. Tintokoulis, would you care to take over for us?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Can everyone hear me okay? Yes. Thank you. As many of you know, my name is Melissa Tintokoulis, and I work as the Economic Development Director for the town. And the day-to-day work really involves supporting local employers, property owners, and working with partners like the Chamber of Commerce. And we do this to support investment and help projects navigate the town process. And I just want to, have a chance here to do a quick update and introduce Rick Parker from the Chamber of Commerce. But I wanted to also remind us why this is relevant. And so I know I'm a visual learner, so I did bring a prop. And then a lot of people were asking me if I was going swimming. And so I was like, well, I'll wait a couple more months for that. But I wanted to just have you guys imagine if this is $100 at Fund Town Services. Just think that every $100, $60 of that, so $60 comes from the commercial property taxes, commercial property tax in Burlington. So this is a significant portion. We get to hear a lot from the residential parts of our community, but the commercial community and the business community is a significant part. And tonight we have an opportunity to hear from our business community, and specifically from the Chamber of Commerce. And this is important because this is how we stay strong and plan ahead. And with that, I just wanted to give one update on something that we talked about last year at this time, which was the mixed-use zoning district. And it was a milestone vote for our town. We supported a mixed use in the Burlington Mall. And with that, we have already kind of started to position ourselves to think ahead. And I say that because not only has, since that vote, we've engaged in the property owners, they've been having conversations with the planning staff, planning boards working on design guidelines, but as we know, zoning is just one step. And the market continues to shift, and as a public market note, Saks Global has filed for Chapter 11. And it's important for us to understand that and know that because they have real estate interests in the mall. But because we've been proactive and because we have been planning ahead, we are in a really good position based on how we're monitoring this with the property owners. And we feel like in a good position to create new opportunities for reinvestment. And with that context, I am pleased to really introduce Rick Parker here tonight so that you may, as a body, hear directly from the business community and get really a state of the business for Burlington this evening. And we will be here in the back if you'd like to ask any more questions or any follow-up. And we're going to be working on a few initiatives that we'd like to tell you a little bit more about. But at this point, Rick Parker, many of you know him. He is the Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce. So thank you so much, Rick, for coming here and sharing your time with us.
Great props. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm going to stick to a script because I'm not as well-spoken as Melissa and just shooting from the hip. As she said, I'm Rick Parker. While many of you know me as the president of the Chamber of Commerce, I'm also a lifelong resident of Burlington. I'm a former Burlington small business owner. I've raised my family here. My kids all went to this same school, graduated from here, as did I. So I've been here for a while. I also sat with a lot of you for many years, so I appreciate the time that you put into this. Burlington has been a fortunate community in that the businesses and residents have worked in harmony for many years. As residents, we've been fortunate to benefit from a very relatively low tax rate because the commercial sector has covered roughly 2/3. I didn't bring the prop, but it's a significant portion of the budget. The elected bodies, including this one, have always supported no user fees for the residents. Inclusive in our tax dollars, we've been able to have many benefits, such as no fees for school sports, buses, trash pickup, and award-winning recreation programs, and much more. We've also been fortunate as residents to be able to fit major capital projects within our budget. The administration has done great work planning and fitting the needs of the community into the capital budget, and we should all be thankful for that. Many Burlington businesses have also been fortunate. The daytime population, coupled with the demographics in and around the community, have helped them to prosper in years past. The formula has been so good in Burlington for so many years that now many communities around us have started to replicate it, and the competition to attract businesses is stronger than ever. While we continue to have success stories in the town, the Broad Institute locating here, Burlington Square, which many of us call it Staples Plaza, is in the midst of a transformation. The mall and Third Ave are doing well. But my goal here tonight is to share that there are also challenges facing the business community. The daytime population is not the same as it used to be. Class A office space is no longer the predominant model of how people work. We see increasing vacancies and empty parking lots, and that has a direct effect on many ancillary businesses that were dependent on the employees that work there. We're very lucky that Burlington has always been a forward-thinking community. We're in a town that has traditionally been proactive in our approach instead of reactive. And while I'm not here to say that the sky is falling, there are signs that there are slight cracks in the ceiling. The Chamber's goal is to help the town deliver the information to this body and the community at large so that we can all continue to benefit by working together and by helping our business continue to prosper. It's really important for our success going forward, understanding that we're in a highly competitive market. So I thank you all for your time tonight, but I do want to just add one thing. I want to thank Chief Brown, Captain Jim Hannafin for the work that they've done down in the district to make sure that peace is still restored while people have the opportunity to speak their minds. It means a lot to the business community. We're very lucky to have the Burlington Police Force taking care of business for us. So thank you all.
Thank you. Now, we have... What? No, this is just a report. We're not getting into discussions on reports of committees. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, may I ask a question?
Excuse me?
May I ask you a question?
You can ask me a question, yes.
Out of curiosity. Mr. Moderator, as town meeting reps, what is our job here? What are we supposed to do as town meeting? Why are we elected here?
After all these years, you have to ask me that question?
Yeah, I do, because I'm at a loss here, because we're at a public meeting, and if some of us may have some questions about what's been just said here that public has interest in, why are we not allowed to ask the questions at this time so that maybe some information can get out there? I'm curious to ask Mr. Parker and Melissa a little bit about some of the reports that we've been seeing in the town and how we're really going to be affected, because if the businesses, as Mr. Parker says, there is some cracks in the foundation per se, the tax shift is going to go over to our residents. You know, I'd like to kind of talk about that a little bit if we have the opportunity. If you tell me, Steve, I'm out of line, I'll just drop the mic and say thank you very much, Bill, but...
Well, we have not been allowing questions on reports. They are just reports for information. Our business here today is what is on the warrant.
I understand that, Bill.
And so if we got distracted, we could spend 2 hours talking to Rick, and we'd never get to our business. So I understand your question, and I understand your concern. This just isn't the forum for it at this point, Steve.
Well, there's some interesting things that are going on in the town, Bill, that are going to affect the taxpayer going forward. And, you know, where do we discuss that? Where do we talk about it? We come to the May town meeting and we're going to start talking about some big finances and stuff like that. We're going to talk tonight about a budget for the rec department. They're over budget. And they need a transfer infusion. And my question would be to people is, that's going to start happening every day now, that we budgeted for one thing and we're going to find out it's going to be more expensive, Bill. So I don't know. Maybe the rest of the town meeting members got a better handle on it than I do. But I just read in the newspaper yesterday, we got a business that's leaving. 81 jobs are leaving Burlington.
Well, Steve, I understand your point and I understand your concerns.
Okay, well, I thank you, Bill.
The issue is that this just isn't the forum for it at this point in time. Now, should there be a forum for all of what you're discussing? Absolutely. Would it be great if our select board and the economic people put together a discussion point for us to do this and discuss this before May town meeting? That would be wonderful. And I think your point is well made, and I think that's something we should look for, but it's just not tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Ms. Tintoklis, do you have a comment to make on that?
Mr. Moderator, if I may, the Select Board has discussed selecting a date in the first week of March for an Economic Development Summit where some of these issues and questions could be discussed. A date is to be determined and confirmed with the Select Board.
Thank you.
That's
So-
helpful.
So I expect to see you there with me, Steve.
It would be an honor and privilege.
Let's not push it that far, Steve, but thank you. Okay. Ms. Hughes, to speak about the Government Review Committee. It was up there.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. It's kind of a hard act to follow, but I'll see what I can do. Since September, when I last talked to this body, the Government Review Committee has been hard at work, meeting 2 times a month, plus subcommittee meetings, to further our project along. Before I go any farther, I just want to acknowledge and thank the members of the team, some of which, as you can see, are members of town meeting, and some are not. So we have a kind of a diverse group of folks, some who are very familiar and have been involved in town government for many, many years, others who are not and who are just newly either involved or learning about how town meeting operates. As you may recall, the mission of this committee is to ensure an appropriate and effective and accountable organizational structure in government, and to make recommendations as a result of our efforts. Coming down to a level of abstraction from this are our objectives, which are to be open through our review of the town government, to benchmark comparable towns, produce a charter providing clarity on the function of town government, and to look at the role and title for the town administrator position, consider new or confirm existing provisions of our bylaws, and to use a charter where it makes sense to do so, but bylaws when they make sense to do so. At the end of the day, we're going to generate a report. The approach that we're using in this process is first to have a partner in all of this, with a consulting partnership with the Collins Center to guide us as we go through the process of studying the efficacy and the effectiveness of our government structure and processes. To do that, we need to have a very clear understanding of what the current structure is. We have had discussions with incumbents. We have studied the bylaws and special acts that exist today and govern how we operate, as well as the current structure. From there, we need to know what's working and what's not. We are analyzing best practices and as we review each area of town government. And finally, we'll develop a charter with suggested bylaw changes. An important part of this process has been to establish benchmarks of comparable towns. The criteria for this has been to make sure that we have towns of similar government structure, which is select board and representative town meeting, similar size, similar character, and have a charter today. The towns that we're using as our benchmarks are Dedham, Milford, Milton, Reading, Walpole, and Winchester, as you can see from this chart. The sequence for this review that starts with the legislative branch. Then we move on to the executive, elected boards, financial procedures, elections, special provisions, and our administrative organization. What we've done so far is that we have had an open and a transparent process with open meetings, BCAT airings of our meetings, reports in the Buzz. We've developed a website for posting committee information, which is everything from who the members are to the references we're using to timelines and discussion summaries. Our social media plan partners with our new communications officer is in process. We have conducted 26 stakeholder interviews representing 17 entities that are involved with town government today. Because we feel that we need this to understand the current state through the eyes of those who are really deeply involved in town government. We published a report which is available on the website, and I hope that you all have a chance to take a look at that. Additionally, as we seek to gain input from our community, we investigated a survey for residents, but you'll hear more about that later in Article 7. We did have a table at the Civic Forum, and we're very excited to see how active that table was. We had a survey that we asked people to complete for us, and although people didn't think that we'd get much of a response, we actually had 38 people actually complete the survey, which was terrific, with some very good input. As the charter process has begun, we have established, as you saw, our benchmark towns. We've completed the initial pass at the legislative branch, where we looked at such things as town meeting, town moderator, and referendum. Now we enter into the phase where we're looking at the executive branch, which started off with interviews, a question and answer session with our group from the town administrator. John and Patrick came and talked to us about and answered all our questions that we had about their roles. We develop benchmarks, as you know, and have a very thorough analysis of what our benchmark communities are doing, and have started the initial discussions about the select board and town administrator. These discussions are really complex. They're edgy sometimes, as I'm sure you can understand. What's next for us is that, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about the survey in a little bit. We're going to finalize the executive branch discussions. We have outreach that we're going to be doing to let townspeople know about the project, understand when and how they can have input into the process. We want to keep them updated, but to do that, we are going to employ a variety of communication channels, both using technology and also old school paper if that is necessary. The process is taking a little bit longer than we initially had planned. The timeline, as you can see here, although it is kind of an eye chart, is that we have a very active couple of months coming up with a lot of meaty discussions that will be happening. We plan on finishing as originally planned with a report ready for January 2027 town meeting. We'll definitely keep you posted at the May town meeting, but until then, feel free to follow our progress on BCAT or our website, or feel free to talk to any member of our committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes. Let's continue on now to Article 2. It is moved and seconded by the Ways and Means Committee to amend zoning articles to add a definition for setback. The article is as printed in the warrant. Who has a report on this? We have planning board took a vote on this article?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The planning board voted unanimously in favor of this article.
Thank you. Now, the zoning bylaw review committee, they're presenting on this, is that correct? Ms.
Yes.
Ms. Hughes? Oh,
Mr. Donahue.
go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mark Donahue, Precinct 5, member of the Zoning Bylaw Review Committee. So, first, what is the Zoning Bylaw Review Committee? The Zoning Bylaw Review Committee's mission is to ensure that the town's zoning bylaws are current, clear, and conform to Burlington Master Plan and Massachusetts General Law. Its charter is to monitor, review, and make recommendations to town meeting regarding any changes to the town's zoning bylaws due to, but not limited to, changes to government, law, or regulation, changes in building and planning regulations and best practices, and proposed changes submitted by the committees, developers, and other proponents. So, the setback clarification article, which is what we're here to talk about. This is a simple housekeeping article. It does three things. It adds the definition for setback that has not existed, although the word is frequently used in the zoning bylaws. It updates Article 5, dimensional requirements, which currently uses the phrase minimum front, side, and rear yard when referring to a setback requirement. The omission of the word setback has caused confusion, which has been identified by both the building department and residents. And it updates the existing zoning bylaws by adding the word setback and modifying sentences to include the term where it should be used appropriately. So this stuff is all in your warrant. This is just basically all of the changes that we're making. So the first place it shows up is in dimensional requirements. And if you look in the RO district, no accessory use or use shall occupy part of the required front or side yard setback and not more than 20% of the rear yard other than required off-street parking. So again, we've just added setback there to side yard. And then in districts except RO, no accessory use shall occupy any part of the required minimum yard setback. You're starting to see a concept here. So basically, anytime you see minimum yard, we're adding the word setback because a lot of people don't necessarily understand that the setback is actually the minimum yard requirement. So. And again, this is, it shows up in density requirements for religious and educational uses, the required front and side rear yard minimum yard setbacks and minimum lot frontage is required. And that's basically where it adds into that one. So the other thing is, here, so the non-conforming structures. Again, extensions of exterior wall along the same non-conforming distance with a required yard setback, and each side yard setback shall be considered separately in the determination of the nature of non-conformity. In the additional regulations for home occupations, no traffic shall be generated by such occupation in greater volumes than would normally be expected in a residential neighborhood, and any need for parking generated by the conduct of such home occupation shall be met off the street and outside of the required front yard setback. And again, it shows up in open space residential development. Every single family detached dwelling is placed upon a lot with the height, frontage, side, and rear yard setback requirements in accordance with the requirements of Table 11.6.8, open space residential dimensional requirements. And finally, the actual definition, which is being added in Section 2, I believe, 2. In definitions. It comes directly from the Planner's Dictionary. It is a very basic definition of setback. So, any questions?
Okay, questions from the body? Mr. DeBona?
Hello, Jeffrey DeBona, Precinct 3. I'm also a member of the Zoning Bylaw Review Committee. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it when they voted on it. I was the one dissenting on that. I had one issue with it. While providing the clarity for the term setback, I was in favor of that, to have that in there. But as far as changing the word, the setback is not the requirement. The yard is the requirement. It's looking for yard space, and that's the way the Mass General Law is written, as well as the building code. I said setback is not, it's a term of measurement, not what is being required by the law to have within there. So I recommended against it. I would recommend pushing this until May town meeting and clarifying that. I would actually like to hear what town council has to say on that as well.
Ms. Mead, Town Council.
I reviewed the proposal, and it's consistent with state law as well as any number of zoning bylaws and zoning ordinances across the Commonwealth on how to describe the yard setback.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further on this? Yes. Ms. Leone.
Hey, Mr. Moderator, Florence Leone, Precinct 1. I'm just curious, all of these houses that you showed, they appear to all be on Lexington Street. Are they in accordance with the proper setback, or are they in violation?
They are just, Mr. Moderator, they are just pictures of houses in Burlington that we took as on our morning walks.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Ms. Byer.
Kathy Byer, Precinct 2, and nitpicky. On the table, there's 2 columns that say RC at the top. And I don't know if that matters if we pass it with that. Is one supposed to be RG?
Mr. Donahue? Any?
I don't know. The table was provided. It actually comes out of the
All right, Ms.
current bylaw.
Liz, can you?
Through you, Mr. Moderator. So Liz Von Ventry, Planning Director, that column should be RG for residential garden apartment. So it should be.
There's not a proposal to change the table, so it can be considered a scrivener's error. So they're not proposing to change that column, right? That's just, it's just the column, right? The only change is in the definitions that are underlined. So if Liz decides which one it is, you're not changing the columns. The vote is to add the word setbacks
All right.
into the table.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we just leave it as is if it's,
Yeah, because what you're voting on is changing the
All
word
right.
setback. You're not voting to change anything else in the table.
okay.
Right.
Yep.
No, you're only voting to add the word setbacks. You're not voting to change the table.
Okay, as Town Council has explained to me, we are only proposing to change setback. We are not proposing any changes to the table, so we can only focus on setback and not changes to the table. Anything additional? Ms. Byer again.
Kathy Byer, Precinct 2. On the page before that, under the dimensional requirements, 5.1.3.3, there is the front or side yard setback, and then it says, and not more than 20% of the rear yard. Is the word setback supposed to be there, or does that change the meaning?
No, because that's the dimensional requirements of the use of the space.
The whole yard?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to verify. Thank you.
Anything else? Seeing nothing, let's put this to a vote. This is a 2/3 majority, so I hope it's unanimous. That makes it easy on us. All those in favor? Thank you. All those opposed? There being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people opposed, it's a clear 2/3 majority, and the motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Article 3 is transfer from free cash to the Water Stabilization Fund. The motion is as printed in the warrant. It has been moved and seconded by the Ways and Means Committee. Ways and Means Committee, have a vote on this?
Ways and Means approve this 1100.
Thank you. Mr. Denizio?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Before you is an annual article. We come every January to ask for this to be done. This is the 8th year we're doing it, so probably most of you have heard me say these exact words a bunch of times. But this was set up when we first decided that this body voted to move into the MWRA, and because there was going to be a significant amount of cost with that, the increase in the rates was smoothed out to go over a 10-year period, but because the revenues and the expenses don't match up perfectly, a stabilization fund was created. That when those user fees are paid, they close to the general fund, become part of free cash. We come in January, we transfer from free cash into the stabilization fund so that those funds are available when we come with the May budget for the following year. We ask for money to be used from the stabilization account. We probably still have a couple more years of this before we're done having to do this, because we'll have baked in all of the costs of the MWRA connection. We've started the last phase of that project, is scheduled to be completed during this calendar year, hopefully, and by then we'll be able to just increase the revenues and expenses and have them part of the operating budget. So annual article, majority passed 2.375037.
Thank you, Mr. Denizio. Questions on this article? Ms. Angelo.
Thank you. Pat Angelo, Precinct 5. I don't know if this is a question to ask now or at the May town meeting. Who sets up at the bottom of the water bills, who sets up like so many gallons, this amount, and so many gallons, that amount? Is that done by MWRA or is that done by the town?
Mr. Denizio, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Ms. Angelo, I believe you're talking about the rates and who sets the rates. The rates are set by the town through a vote of the select board.
Oh, it's almost like they sneaked them in. I didn't even notice until I looked at the bottom. Before it was like 0 to 20,000 gallons was at one rate, and then it went up. But now it's like 0 to 10,000 gallons. So we're getting increases that we're not even aware of. And nobody even said that they were changing these rates either.
Mr. Denizio.
May I ask Mr. White?
Mr. White.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So that cut in half was related to the quarterly billing. So when we went from semi-annual to quarterly, those tiers got cut in half. So that new tier structure doesn't increase any costs. It reflects the quarterly billing.
But it does increase the cost because before it was 0 to 20,000 gallons was one rate, and now it's 0 to 10,000. So it's got to increase the rates.
Correct. The 0 to 20 was based on 6 months of usage. The 0 to 10 is based off of 3 months. So it's cut in half because your billing cycle is cut in half.
But the rate still increases, correct?
No, it's just spread out. It's just because it's more frequent billing.
I don't care how you're phrasing this. When it goes from 0 to 10,000, from 0 to 20,000, you're getting paid, you're getting charged more.
Thank you, Ms. Angelo. Anything further on this article? Seeing nothing, let's put it to a vote. All those in favor? Thank you. All those opposed? Motion carries. Article 4 has been moved and seconded by the Ways and Means Committee to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash to the FY 2026 budget line item 86 reserve fund the sum of $100,000. Mr. Davison, please.
Ways and Means supported this 1100.
Thank you. Mr. Denizio, Select Board vote. Ms. Crawley.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Select Board voted 5-0 in favor.
Thank you. Mr. Denizio.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. This is another one of the annual articles. When we set the budget in May, we set up a smaller amount of $200,000 for the reserve fund transfer account that could cover us should something come up before free cash is certified by the state. And then what we do in January, after free cash is certified, we come back and would replenish anything that had been used up to $300,000, which is a number that has been used here for quite some time. There's only been a few times I think 5 years ago was the last time we've had to use the reserve fund, and a couple years before that. So it's only been used sparingly, and it's about 0.2% of the total operating budget for the Ways and Means Committee to have should something arise when we either don't have a town meeting for a long time or we don't have another town meeting. And it's $100,000 from free cash majority vote.
Thank you, Mr. Denizio. Questions? Mr. Webb.
Yep, I do. I apologize.
Well, regardless of what it might say on the screen, the article is printed in the warrant. And as long as that number agrees with what Mr. Denizio was talking about, we should be good. All right? Anything further? Seeing nothing, let's vote on this. All those in favor? Thank you. Opposed? Motion carries. Which brings us to Article 5. It has been moved and seconded by the Ways and Means Committee to authorize expenditure of transportation infrastructure funds. Of $43,148.40. Mr. Davison, please.
Ways and Means supported this Article 1200.
Thank you. Ms. Colley.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Select Board voted 5-0 in favor of this.
Thank you. Mr. Denizio.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Yet again, another annual article that you're probably sick of me saying the same thing every year. So what happens here is for every rideshare ride in Massachusetts, there's a 20-cent fee, whether it's Lyft or Uber, whatever it is. There's a 20-cent fee that's collected by the state. They keep 10 cents of that, and then 10 cents of that is shared to the town where the ride originated. So if you do the math, you can see that 431,000 rideshare rides in calendar 24 originated here in Burlington. For a point of reference, before COVID, that was about $550,000 rides, 550,000 rides that originated here in Burlington. So we're heading up to that amount again, and hopefully soon we'll get there. So what happens with that 10 cents is shared with the town, and we're required to put it in what's called the receipts reserved account, which means we get the money we deposit, we have to come to town meeting and appropriate it. And they have limitations on what you can use it for. It has to be in the area of transportation. What we have done for the last several years, or at least since the rideshare program that we have here in town has been around, we've used it to supplement the money for that program. This is the Lyft program that's run through the Council on Aging, where folks that qualify can take can sign up for us. They can order a Lyft ride. They pay the first $1, we pay the next 10, then they pay anything after that. That program has grown in popularity. We were hoping that it was going to plateau at some point, and hasn't yet, so we'll be talking more about that in May, about what the right size of that program is. But what we're talking about today is using this $43,000-ish to supplement that program, as we have for the last few years.
Thank you, Mr. Denizio. Questions on this article? Seeing none, let's put it to a vote. All those in favor? Thank you. Opposed? Motion carries. Article 6, I believe, has been withdrawn. Is that correct? Which brings us to Article 7. It's been moved and seconded by the Ways and Means Committee to see if the town will vote from available funds the sum of $20,000 for the purpose of funding expenses related to the Government Review Committee's community survey. Mr. Davison, please. Ways and Means.
The Burlington Government Review Committee is chartered to ensure that our government is structured to support our residents and constituents. Our committee was tasked to have an open process that considered all options, which leads me to why we're here today, namely to talk about Article 7, which is a request for $20,000 to support our committee's community survey and related expenses. In discussions leading up to tonight, I've been asked, why a survey? And the simple answer is that our government serves our community, and a critical part of the project is hearing and understanding the views of that community in which we serve. So what would it look like? Through this survey, we will gather information on a number of topics related to how government operates. The plan is to reach out to Burlington residents using an independent third-party managed survey so that there will be no question about impartiality or how it will be done professionally. What we'll learn, hopefully, are from our residents' views on town meeting, town administration, boards, committees, the expectations that they have for this process, and maybe some guidance on the messaging to explain why the decisions are being made that we're making. In support of their effort, there will be a communications plan. This plan will be in partnership with our new communications officer and will address online as well as offline forms of communication and help drive the participation of the survey because we want as many people to be a part of that as possible. Based on the advice from our experts, the survey itself will be very simple. It will be short enough so people will actually complete it and not kind of put it in the circular file, but long enough so we'll get some meaningful input from it. We're hoping to have the survey translated into 2 additional languages. Those languages will be determined based on the information that we're going to gather, hopefully from the schools, as well as other town resources that have been able to understand what languages our residents speak. Here, some other folks said, well, what kind of questions are you going to ask? So we went to a survey. There's no every town does a very customized survey, but we found one in Natick that actually did a pretty good job of taking a look at some of the government-related questions. As you can see, these are just 3 of what were 10 questions that were on their survey. But what it established was what level of involvement people had, their familiarity with government, and their satisfaction level with it. In order to conduct the survey, we need the help of experts. The scope of the survey would have 4 main areas. The design and development of the survey tool, which would be done in collaboration with our committee, the administration of it, the data analysis, and then a report coming out of it, and then a final report and presentation to various bodies. In terms of timing, what we propose is, if the budget is approved tonight, that we start the drafting process in March with some testing and then finalizing it in April, that we launch the survey in May, use June as time to do the analysis, and then get the report out in July. So it will inform the government review process. I showed you the timeline before for that. This will dovetail right into that as we are starting to prepare our report and review the findings that we have at that time. In order to get a firm idea as to the cost, timing was a little bit off, so what we had to do is we solicited proposals from 2 different organizations. The Center for Public Opinion at UMass Lowell and the Collins Center, which has an arm, a survey arm, when we talk to them as well. We also solicited a quote for advertising so that we could advertise this to the town residents. Interestingly, the cost is about the same to Burlington either way that we go with it, although the approach is very different. And this is an eye chart, and you don't really need to do it. The bottom line is that there's a very small difference between the 2. In one of the models, because they both have different models based on some scientific approaches that they have used, in one they do pretty much everything. In the other, we would be much more involved. There are pros and cons to each approach, but before we can move these discussions forward, we need to get a budget approval. We do know that, and they knew when we asked for the budget, that the amount that they give us is not to exceed amount, so that what it is going to be the cap. One is over $20,000 by $5. I figured we could probably negotiate that one. The next steps, we've been to the Select Board, as you heard, in Ways and Means, and we have their support. What I'm asking you tonight is to approve this article, and if it is approved, then we'll convene our subcommittee of the Government Review Subcommittee, which we have people who have volunteered to be on that committee. We'll select the vendor and then kick off the project in March.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes. Questions on this article? Mr. Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Monty Pearson, Precinct 3. The question I have is a kind of a larger question about the purpose of this committee. I didn't see anything about, in the purpose of this, about democracy. And there seems to be a tilt towards effectiveness and a tilt towards do you know what's going on? And a tilt towards, well, the way we can make things more effective and accessible is to have fewer people involved in decision making so that we can focus on that individual. And that's the way people end up having mayors instead of town meeting. And I'm concerned that the tenor of the questions on these surveys is very important, and that they do lead towards people who don't know too much about how town government works to want to have fewer government bodies, more accountability by having fewer people in decision-making process so they know who's making the decisions. But what that does is that means that fewer people in town are actually involved in the actual making of decisions. And so I would really urge the committee to think about these survey questions and whether or not you are steering the answers towards a mayor's form of government, an elimination of town meeting, an elimination of electing people. This is the question of the value of democracy and of widespread participation in the decision-making in town. And, you know, there's always, as long as I've been here, there's been rumors and talk about how we could be more efficient if we had a mayor who just ran everything. And that person would then be accountable to everyone. And I don't think that that's really what we really want here. I think we want a lot of people in town involved in the decision-making process, as there is right now. Because if we have a mayor's form of government, there'll be a mayor and maybe 3 or 4 city councilors, and then all of you get to be voters in the general election, and that's all your participation is. And I think that that's not the direction that a charter review committee should be leaning in. So I'm going to vote against this, and I hope that other people think carefully about this, because it seems to me this is a slippery slope towards eliminating town government and elected boards.
Mr. Moderator, can I respond?
Ms. Hughes, go ahead.
First thing I want to assure you is that we've already, the committee has had initial discussions on town meeting, as you saw from the other presentation. There is absolutely no interest in eliminating town meeting, shrinking town meeting, or changing the form of government. That is something that we discussed in one of our initial meetings on the legislative branch. It is on BCAT. I encourage you to listen to it, because we totally support the effectiveness of town meeting. So that is not something that is on the table for this committee, and certainly will not be, we will not be steering through the questions people in the direction of looking at a mayor and all that kind of stuff. I've heard rumors to that effect of like, is that what we're trying to do here? Absolutely not. And I think that the proof of that is on those sessions, in which I welcome you to come listen to. All the meetings are open. You're more than willing and welcome to come and share your opinions, and if you don't trust that we're not going to steer it in that direction, then come make sure that we aren't. But I can tell you that there is no, I don't think there's any energy on anyone's part on this committee to move it in that direction that you are talking about. I think that the area of having an effective government which is a participatory government, is something that we are proud of and we should maintain. And I believe the committee in our discussions have done nothing to try to change that.
Ms. Nash.
Mildred Nash, Precinct 3. I applaud the Government Review Committee because I think they have a very valid interest in getting more participation. The question that I have, and you may not be able to answer it, is in either of these two bodies that would be doing this study, do you have any information on what percentage of replies they get to the surveys? I find it appalling that our local elections are 15% turnout, and that for something as big as the new high school, 36% was all we could get. And my one worry is that for all your hard work, if surveys are sent out and we get very, very few replies, how do we get people to care more about government? They should care so vitally, and that isn't working. And I'm not sure how this committee may change that, but do you have any ideas whether the people that you would be working with on the survey have better luck at getting replies?
They definitely have a lot more experience, and keep in mind they do all different kinds of surveys for different kinds of towns for different purposes. So they have told us that, and each of them approaches it differently. Like one uses a scientific method to figure out how many surveys they sent out. The other will be to all. We'll do it to everybody. But they said probably in the 3 to 5% range is probably what you would expect in terms of survey return, which is one of the reasons why the communication channels are something that I think are really important. And the fact that it's not going to be 100% electronic, we'll have paper surveys available, that we will have to put together the formal plan, but I would envision us doing information sessions, for example, at the Council on Aging, and doing other outreach kind of activities to try to drum up the participation numbers as much as possible. And obviously all of you can play a role in that as well, in terms of the people in your communities and in your precincts. You know, send out an email telling them when, because you'll know when it's going to be going out, and let people know it's coming and please to respond. So I think we can do better than what they project, but then I'm kind of a Pollyanna on that stuff. So, but that's my hope.
Just one comment. The Civic Expo was so well attended that I think maybe the government committee should look and use them to get some idea how they managed to have such a big response, because I think what you're doing is valuable, and I think we should approve this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nash. Mr. DiTucci.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Dan DiTucci, Precinct 6. That was a very good question that Monty had earlier, and I was very happy with the answer that you gave them. If you did a survey just for town meeting members to see how many of us would like to give up what we've been doing for many, many years and give up the charter to have a mayoral type government with city councils and stuff, I think you'd find out that 90 to 95% of us would rather keep what we have now. So if you're just going to try to find a way to make what we do here now better and more efficient, then I can go along with that. On the survey, when you send out the survey, are you going to have a survey for just town residents who are not involved whatsoever in town government? That way we can see how many people actually know what's going on. Like Millie had said, you know, we get very low voter turnouts. People can Google, you know, town meeting and find out all about, you know, the way we do things here with the selectmen and everything. But I'm concerned about the survey because I want to make sure that it's going to be sent to people, you know, who are not participating in government now, but somehow know about it. They could not participate, but they know what the select board is, they know what the Board of Health is. That's all. So that's what I'm concerned about, is the survey, and I want to make sure we get accuracy from the survey, from especially people that are not in town government now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DiTucci. Any comment you wish to make?
Yeah, I think, in answer to your question, as I said, there is absolutely no interest in this committee. We didn't spend a nanosecond talking about mayor stuff. I mean, there is no interest in moving that. Town meeting, there was talk about that, because as I remember, maybe a quote would be that everybody felt it was like the best form of government, and that we should do whatever we can to maintain it. So, yes, democracy. In terms of the survey, who actually I think the initial plan is to send it out to all registered voters of the town, and so you will get people who are involved, people who are not involved, people who know nothing, people who know a lot. It'll be kind of a broad brush. That is one of the approaches that one of the groups uses. So our intent is to try to get a broad array of input from the residents of our town. That's the intent.
Thank you. Mr. Tucci, you have a follow-up? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Dan DiTucci. And if you're going to survey everyone, like you said, I even noticed on some of the communities there when they were asking certain questions about, are you in government? Are you part of the government? Where you live now? I think that was Natick or something. So when we get the figures about the survey, we want to have it broken down. People in government, people not in government, and break it up, I don't care, into 3 different categories if you have to, because we still want to find out, why a lot of people are not involved in town government now. That's all, as long as we have all that information.
Yeah, I think given the fact that this will be done by professionals, the analysis, the survey itself is very important, and they will play a major role in constructing it. But the analysis at the end, getting all the information and then doing the analysis, I mean, that's kind of what you're paying them for. They have software programs that do all of this stuff, and we can slice and dice the data a million different ways. So that will not be a problem.
And one last question. Will this come back to town meeting?
Absolutely.
First, or to select board first?
Select board first, right. Town meeting second.
Okay, good. I agree.
But if it's anything like the updates that I've been doing to date, the slides are exactly the same.
Okay. No, you did well on this. I'm going to support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Roger A. Bell, Precinct 6, and before you get excited about the A, it always stands for Allen. To you, Ms. Hughes, you've mentioned the difference between a town administrator and town manager, and for educational purposes, maybe you could fill us in on what that means in terms of how a town government is actually approached.
I think we're getting a little far astray here. The question is on whether we wish to do a survey or not. We're not going to get into an in-depth discussion on...
I just will say that I will be happy to talk to you about that at any time. Just grab me.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Is that Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Kevin Spielberger, Precinct 4. I think a survey is a great idea, and they're definitely very hard to do, so it makes sense you want to outsource them. I was surprised, though, that your sample questions were not from either of the 2 vendors, and you just pulled them from someplace else. It seems odd that you would choose one of these 2 without knowing what some of their sample questions might be.
I do have a number of their sample questions, and one of them is from the vendor, so...
One of them that we saw?
Yeah.
You went through it very quickly, which I don't know what even
the questions were just from a Natick survey, not on this topic, but
It is certainly not our job here to go through the survey questions. That's certainly yours. I just want to make sure that you've looked through the survey questions before you choose one of the vendors.
Yeah, we have not selected a vendor. Let me be clear about that. We have not yet selected a vendor. They both have very different approaches, but we actually didn't feel that it was, that we had the right to actually bring them back in for that selection process until we actually knew whether we had money or not. So this has been a little bit of a delicate dance to make sure that we got the quotes so that we know what the, how big is this bread box, and so we have that. Now we can get the money. If it gets approved, then we'll go back to the vendors with the final crack at asking them questions, and then make a decision, and then move forward.
Quick follow-up, if I may?
Go ahead.
Just curious, when you have the survey results, is this informative or are these actionable items?
Both.
Up in the back corner, is that Mr. Brooks?
Jason Brooks, Precinct 6. With regards to getting the survey out to more people, tax season's coming up. Could these be sent with the tax bills?
There are very specific rules about what you can and can't include in certain municipal mailings, and we actually have been asking that question. Part of that, as I understand it, is that whatever you put in there cannot increase the postage of the mailing. So if we put something in that's going to increase the postage, we can't do that. So, but we obviously will look for opportunities if we can to kind of bundle things together. And again, the budget we're asking for is kind of a not to exceed number. So if we can put it in the tax bill and save money on postage, then so be it.
Yeah, Steve up there, but up in the back.
Steve Marchese, Precinct 3. Could somebody in the room possibly tell me what the difference is between this survey and the one that was performed just a few short years ago of governmental review? And my second question is, I thought I heard you say you were hiring a communications officer. Is that correct?
No, Burlington has already hired a communications officer last fall.
Could you tell me what the difference is between this governmental review and the one that was done just a few short years ago?
The prior government review, and I was not here during that, I believe it published a report in 2018. It was a short-term, I think it was like 6 months, maybe 3 or 6 months, something like that project. What they came out with was a number of recommendations. One of the recommendations they came out with was to form a charter commission or a government review committee to put together a charter, among other things, and look at the things that we, that we are looking at in the course of our deliberations now. I don't know anything about a survey. If they did a survey before, I don't know. Somebody else might.
Yes, sir. Mr. Priest, can you enlighten us?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I believe the survey you're referring to was the communications survey that we conducted in 22, 23, which is not done by this committee. It was done by the Select Board and led to the hiring of our communications director, who's over there. Laura, if you want to wave. It's Laura, everybody.
Go ahead, Mr. Steve, Mr. Marchese. Follow up.
Thank you. Just for your ratification, Nick, that is not what I was referring to. That was the committee that was put together that reviewed all of the departments, and at that time, I think that's when the recommendation was made to, one of the things was to switch from an elected tax collector treasurer. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
I don't know about a survey with that one, though.
Trying to remember that, and unfortunately, in old age, you start to lose a little bit. So that's why I'm asking. But now that you reminded me, I think part of it was a charter review, or to look at the difference between a town manager and a town administrator. So I thank you very much for refreshing my memory. Thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Bix Highland.
Mimi Bix Highland, Precinct 1. The question I wanted to ask early was this. In the vein of inclusion, Betsy, you've talked a lot about wanting to hear from as many people as possible for there to be a higher rate of participation in response to the survey questions. And that goes along with what Monty was saying in terms of democracy, the idea of no taxation without representation. Inclusion means that you see yourself and in what is being talked about, and that you feel you have a voice. This is my preamble to my question, because when you first came up on stage and introduced this, you showed a list of names of the people who are on this new committee. And what struck me was the lack of diversity on it. Yes, there is diversity by gender and by age and by occupation, but not by religion, not by race, ethnicity, or culture. And I say that because here in Burlington, there's a sizable Muslim community, there's a sizable Indian community, there's a sizable Chinese American community, and folks from those communities are not on this committee at all. So it's just my understanding is the select board sent out invitations, correct me if I'm wrong, select board, to potential participants, but I would like to hear, what was your criteria? Were you considering how you're going to hear from a wide breadth of tax-paying registered voters if, so I just wanted somebody to address that, and I want to make the point that inclusion has to be better than what I saw out there. Thank you.
Mr. Priest, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Yeah, it's a fair question. And it's not an easy one to answer, right? I think it's one of the things that we keep circling when it comes to engagement and, how we want to talk to folks in communication. We waited, I won't say an inordinate amount of time, but Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, from the date that we posted the ad to get people involved, it was 3 months? Almost 4 months. I mean, we had an initial slew of applicants, right? And we posted everywhere we could. So social media, bulletin boards, paper, everywhere that we normally do, and try to even push it further. I know myself, Sarah, we were, resharing and pushing and calling people. It's hard to get a hold of people. It's hard to get people to commit. And I can't go around twisting people's arms, right? If there's one thing I'm not, it's a thug. I might be an ass, but I'm not a thug. And it's just, it's hard. It's one of the things that I hope Laura's going to help us solve, right? Is how do we strategically extend that reach, right? To give people the opportunity to engage with us as a community, as a town government. Of the, I want to say 15 people that, did submit, that's who we selected. I think only 1 or 2 folks didn't actually make the cut.
Is this on? Can you hear me? Yes, what I was going to say is I have a suggestion. In this town meeting, there's a handful of us who are not of who are either people of color or some marginalized identity. We're all active. We come here and we participate. You might want to pick our brains. It's okay to pick up the phone and say, Mimi, can I pick your brain? Or Chiffon, can I pick your brain? Or Z, can I pick your brain? Because we might be able to offer suggestions for how you can draw in more input from other people who are stakeholders in this town. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, just one comment. Mimi, one of the things that I think has been important to us from the get-go, and I'm now coming back to the survey itself, is to try to hear from all communities in Burlington. And to the end, that end is why we're saying that the survey itself will be translated into at least 2 different languages. That's what we were told. That's probably what we would need. The other is outreach to different community organizations, where I mentioned the Council on Aging, but I could see that there are other organizations of like the Burlington Indian group, and there are others where we could go and talk about what we're doing and answer questions and then encourage people to do the survey. So when I said, it's like, it's not just electronic. It's like real people kind of interactions that we need to have as we look at soliciting input. The other thing we're going to have is we're going to have input sessions. Somebody mentioned, the civic forum. We're going to have kind of civic forums where people can come and we can outline what we're doing and get some input and reactions to some of the things that we're doing, which we would like to highlight and get people to come in from all over the town. So, there's a lot of room for good ideas here. And, if you want to have a conversation about that at a time, you can, talk to me or any member of our committee about them. And we'll see what we can do.
Thank you. Can we get back to focusing on this survey, please, whether we wish to approve it or not? Mr. Sinesi. And then I'll get to Mr. Connors in the back.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Adam Sinesi, Precinct 1. Move the question.
Question has been moved. It's been seconded. All those in favor of moving the question? All those opposed? It's a clear two-thirds majority. In that case, the question has been moved. We'll move on to a vote on the motion. All those in favor, please. Thank you. All those opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Now let's, we don't really need time for a Myrna minute, but two slight asides here. Myrna, there are 88 people showed up tonight. 88. That's right. Well, you can call them and complain, Myrna. Go right ahead. And I've been told that Assistant Chief Steve McLean, for some reason, has decided to retire and that this is his last town meeting. So, Assistant Chief. Thank you. And the good news is I never had to call on you to throw somebody out of the meeting. But thank you. Okay. That was our Myrna Minute. Now, Article 8, excuse me. Repurpose previously approved fund to the Overlook Park project. It's been moved and seconded by the Ways and Means Committee. Mr. Davison, please.
Ways and Means approve this 1200.
Thank you. Anybody else take a vote on this? Rec Commission?
Sorry, Lindsay Carlson, Chair, Recreation Commission. The Commission voted in favor of this 500.
Thank you. Mr. Egan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Brendan Egan, Director of Parks and Recreation. So we have some slides here that we'd like to give an update on the project and discuss our request tonight. We can advance one slide. Where we started. Overlook Park is a 7.6 acre parcel adjacent to the Little Brook Conservation Area. Our vision for this project is a fully accessible passive recreation complex, including accessible trail system all the way from the bottom of the property to the top to the overlook that where you can view Boston on a clear day, and accessible playground, fully accessible playground on the site as well as some open programming space field. All of the pathways will be accessible. So our team on this project, thank you, Weston and Sampson, our
did the design, and they're also doing the construction management. MJ Cataldo, they're general contractor on the project, and after much anticipation, work began on this project just before Thanksgiving. We have made great progress on the site with some key milestones, including, if everyone's familiar with the site, if you're not, there was an old basketball court up there. That has been removed. A new driveway work access road to the top of the hill has begun, and then site preparation for the future playground, which is on the site of the former playground, and then creation of accessible wooded walkway on the right-hand side of the property, supported by on-site stone walls that highlight local geology. They're able to utilize some existing rocks that are in the ground as border for the accessible pathway to the top of the property. So our initial estimate of probable costs at May 2024 town meeting was $2.3 million and included construction, including contingency, playground equipment, and the electrical line burial. What has increased since that request is design, construction, management, and electrical line burial increased by $163,000. Playground equipment prices went up, and that increased by $33,000. And electrical utility upgrade, transformer and pad required for this was $49,000. We plan to take the design money from the construction contingency in the budget, and we have learned a valuable lesson and realized that we need to account for design and construction management up front in all of our future projects. We were comfortable, or are comfortable negotiating with the contractor on items that were of risk in the project, including the removal and blasting of ledge beyond what was in the contract. So we are also comfortable with value engineering some of the items and absorbing the construction management in the recreation revolving account. These assumptions that we made, obviously we learned a lesson. We will not make them again. We do appreciate you hearing our request tonight, and know that January is not the time to hear financial articles, but we wanted to ask tonight to appropriate $250,000 from the Town Common Sidewalk Project. The town had requested funds prior to May town meeting that in the state budget, but they were not approved at that time. Were approved in July, August, I believe. So they approved $250,000 for walkways on the town common. So looking at this, we are not asking for new appropriation to repurpose the funds for the town meeting, for the town common sidewalks. So what happens if not approved? $140,000 in value engineering items would be removed from the project. The project contingency would be reduced by $62,000. And then construction administration would be funded out of the rec revolving account in the amount of $48,000. So this gives a little breakdown of what the items would be. So with that, our request is for $250,000 to repurpose the money approved for the Town Common Sidewalk Project, which will still happen.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. Does capital budget have a vote on this? No. Okay, questions from the body? Yes, Steve. Mr. Marchese.
Steve Marchese, Precinct 3. Brendan or Lindsay, even Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, could you tell me what the significant savings was in the project with the loam that was expelled from the police station excavation? Where is that loam stored? Did you take it and put it up there to give yourself a little cost savings, Brendan?
Mr. Egan?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I don't know where the loam went from the police station. We have plenty of loam on site up at Overlook.
Could somebody tell me where that loam went from the police station? Where's it stockpiled in the town of Burlington?
Mr. Denizio.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mr. Marchese, I'm not sure. That would be means and methods of the contractor that's performing the work there, but we can find out what their plan is.
Further questions on this article? Yes, Ms. Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So as I understand this, we have $250,000 that we don't need to spend on the town common, correct? Because we got money elsewhere.
Mr. Egan?
Mr. Moderator, thank you. Yes.
Okay, so $250,000 is a pretty significant amount of money. If we didn't use it for this, that amount of money could go back into, as it like a, I don't know what the right financial term is, but as a reserve, if you will, because we just heard from the Chamber of Commerce that we have issues in terms of businesses, and I'm concerned that we're like watching this freight train maybe coming down the track, and this is a place where we don't have to spend this $250,000. You have a workaround. Is it ideal? No. Would I like a nice, pretty park? Yes. But I just don't think this is the time to be, just because the money's already been approved does not mean that we have to spend it. So I can't support this. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes. Further questions? Seeing none, I guess we'll put this to a vote. All those in favor? Thank you. Opposed? Let's try that again. All those in favor? Thank you. Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Article 9. I guess you don't get to go away, Mr. Egan. Article 9 has been moved and seconded by the Ways and Means Committee. And it is as printed in the warrant, but is to see if the town will transfer from free cash a sum of $25,000 for the purpose of a sensory trailer. Ways and Means. Mr. Davison, please.
Ways and Means supported this, 8 in favor, 4 opposed.
Thank you. Recreation Commission.
Recreation Commission voted in favor 5-0-0.
Thank you. Capital Budget. Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mark Woods, Capital Budget. We voted 5-0-0 in favor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Egan, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So some of you may be asking, what is a sensory trailer? A sensory trailer is a mobile, quiet, and calming space designed for individuals who may experience sensory overload. It provides a safe environment with soft lighting, comfortable seating, and sensory-friendly tools to help regulate emotions and reduce stress during busy events. It is available for all ages. The sensory trailer will be available at all of our special events, as well as programs based on need. It allows families to attend events together and removes barriers that families often experience when attending large-scale events. This will be supervised by Burlington Parks and Recreation Department staff that we have at events anyway, so there's no additional expense for staffing. And it provides sensory support, sensory-friendly support, which are becoming more and more common. You may have read about them or seen them. Some of our major shopping retailers have instituted sensory-friendly hours like Walmart, sensory-friendly days at museums, indoor fun centers and concerts. Altitude Trampoline Park in the area offers sensory-safe activities, and then also places like the Museum of Science and Boston Pops, and then there's sensory-friendly rooms locally. Lexington Recreation Department has a sensory-friendly room. Gillette Stadium, Logan Airport, TD Bank, TD Garden, they all have sensory-friendly areas. So what we are asking for $25,000 to purchase a sensory-friendly trailer. We have received $25,000 from the Disability Access Commission towards the trailer. And I just want to point out our initial estimate that we received last fall was for $50,000. And then when we updated that, it did come back at $60,000. The only company that we found that is all-inclusive that can create this trailer and put sensory items into it and deliver it to us is in Alabama. We haven't found one in the New England area. What we would like to do if approved, we would obviously try to source one in the area or find someone like who did the work for the micro gallery through economic development and work with them to find this option for cheaper, and then would be local, which would help with some of the cost. But we are comfortable negotiating with on the customization if needed. The breakdown is in your backup. And then we have a lot of sensory items that will go into that trailer that we have in stock already. We got another grant last year when we were able to purchase a number of the items that would go into the trailer. And we would negotiate on the customization. Maybe there's something that is put into the trailer that is installed in the trailer, like a bubble tower or some light panels on the wall that would come in the trailer already. All of the other auxiliary items we have in stock. We have gel panels for the floors, we have seating, we have fidget spinners and other sensory items already on hand. So, and then I just want to follow up, some questions may come, why a sensory trailer is needed. So we are consistently receiving feedback from the community that suggests the scale of our events can unintentionally limit participation for individuals with a disability. A sensory trailer allows individuals to take a break and self-regulate, avoid having to leave an event early, and participate more fully and comfortably. So we have been striving for years to make our special events as accessible as possible, and we have tried changing elements of events such as layouts, locations, staffing, etc., to increase accessibility. We also offer sensory-friendly events, but even there, some participants can become emotionally uncentered and need a break. There are elements of our special events that we're unable to control and change. However, we can add to our special events to make them more accessible. The sensory trailer would be in addition to our events that would provide a much higher level of accessibility, as it would be a continuous support and available to all participants. And this also allows families to attend events together. Sometimes we have one member of a family stay home with a participant who may need extra support and they just can't attend as a family. And that is our goal, is to allow or to have full participation from families that can enjoy our special events. So.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. Questions on this article? Ms. Hughes.
Thank you. Betsy Hughes, Precinct 7. I think this is a fabulous idea, and I can see how it could be used. I want to follow up on a question I had asked you previously, because I think this is a perfect example of something that a corporate sponsor would be happy to support. Leahy, name your favorite healthcare organization. I think would be good to go to it. Before, when I asked this before, you said you did not try to go get corporate support for this, and I want to know if you updated that at this point.
Mr. Egan.
Mr. Moderator, we have reached out to a couple. We are waiting on responses in meetings. So.
Yes, Ms. Bix-Hyland.
Mimi Bix-Hyland, Precinct 1. I also think anything, a sensory opportunity for dysregulated kids is a wonderful thing. But and I am planning to support this, but I do want to put out a cautionary word for the town. If it's the Parks and Rec team that are overseeing this, they aren't necessarily certified in child development or experienced in working with kids on the autism spectrum. And this being a trailer and there being a door, if ever your staff were behind a closed door with children that they are not legally related to, and there is an incident, it will create difficult situations. So when I read this warrant article, as somebody who works with this population, I was thinking, who's going to oversee this, and how are they going to mitigate potential very legally tricky situations, because all children like the kinds of things that would be inside a trailer like this, but if the purpose is to provide a space for children who get very dysregulated, then all kinds of situations are going to come up. I did a quick Google search because we don't have any of these in our towns here in New England. I couldn't find anything, and I didn't have the time to see if there were what kind of experiences states in other parts of the country have had with this, but I think it behooves Burlington to look into that, because there could be potential legalities down the road. Thank you.
Mr. Egan.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. We have a certified therapeutic recreation specialist on staff. We have many of our support staff work in education, work in special ed, and we also have staff that attend school that are looking to earn degrees in those areas. So we do have trained staff. The trailer is not just open, would not be open for everybody to just rush in and play. A parent, have to be supervised by an adult, and our staff would be there to assist and also monitor when someone has become more centered again and has calmed down, for lack of a better term, and would, encourage movement in and out. There's no limit on how many times that participant could come back and utilize the trailer. They would be able to utilize it. If they were in there for 15 minutes, went out and participated in the event and started to get deregulated again, could come back and participate again. So we do have trained staff, and it would be an adult would, family member, guardian would have to be with the participant as well.
Ms. Angelo, then we'll get to Mr. Maury.
Thank you. Pat Angelo, Precinct 5. Could this trailer be purchased through the Marshall Simons will money that comes up twice a year?
Mr. Egan.
I do not believe this would be something that would be approved by them because it would not be stationed just at Simons Park.
But you're not sure that we could not take it out of that money, is that correct?
We could ask. The reason we're asking now is because there's an 8 to 10 week turnaround. We'd like to have it ready for the start of our spring special events, rolling right into our summer. They do not receive, we give them requests usually at the end of March, and we hear back usually just before town meeting in May. So just in our past experience working with the trust, there are some things that they approve, and there's things that we know they won't, that they want the town to participate in, knowing that this trailer would not be housed there. We can reach out and ask 100%, but knowing that the trailer would not be exclusive to Simons Park, I'm pretty sure they're going to say no.
Well, I would rather wait until we get a definite answer on this. And we just turned around and voted. We had, $250,000. And instead of turning that back over to town, we found a different way to spend it. And this is another $25,000. I mean, pretty soon, we're talking about serious money here. Everybody in this building here, I mean, we've got overwhelming oil bills, electric bills, gas bills. Everything is getting higher and higher. I don't care what they say about prices coming down. I don't see that happening. And then we turn around and we're spending $275,000. I have a real problem with this, and there's no way I can justify this to the people that I talk to in my precinct. If they find out we turned around, we had $250,000 that could be turned into the town, and we turn around and find another use for it, it's hard to justify. And then not even to find out if we can get this out of the Simons, I don't think they would be so as unfeeling as to turn down something like this, have it come out of that money instead of out of the tax pennies.
Thank you, Ms. Angelo. Mr. Maury. Up front here, please.
Thank you, Brennan. Bruce Morey, Precinct 1. As you know, and most members here, I've been supportive of the Recreation Department for several years and a lot of their initiatives. I'm having a little bit of trouble with this one. Kudos to a previous town meeting member for Googling and availability of these or whatever. So I guess I have a couple questions. Seems like more of a want than a need, clearly, in my personal opinion, but what is the availability of these things? Are there some that are, you said they're made in Alabama or whatever. Are there available trailers or vehicles within a 50-mile radius that would potentially have rental opportunities where we could do these? Because we know full in advance, way in advance, when our special events are. So I don't know why we need to have this particular device at this time for something that is, as I mentioned before, more of a want than a need.
Mr. Egan.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. We have not found anyone in New England. The closest one is Alabama that provides these. We would, as I mentioned before, look to find someone locally that could customize the inside, so putting electrical into it, a ductless AC, so there is heat and air conditioning in there, and then any electrical needed for lighting, and then it does require a generator, so they wire it, and we have a plug for a generator. We have not found anyone in the area, which is why we don't have an estimate from someone in the area. It would be multiple people, I believe, to provide the customization on the inside.
Mr. Schmuckler. Well, wait for the microphone, please, Mark.
Okay, Mark Smuckler, Precinct 7. How many events annually would this appear at? And secondly, is your department prepared to assume any and all operation costs? Maintenance, staffing, overtime, power drops?
Mr. Egan.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the first part of the question you asked.
How many?
How many? We offer approximately 30. I think we are just over 30 last year, so 30 special events ranging from May the 4th be with you to Celebrate Burlington, Truck Day, tree lighting, turkey trot, Halloween Spooktacular, Trucktober, concerts. So approximately 30 throughout the year. No additional cost for staffing because we provide staffing for those events. And oftentimes they are support staff. Our recreation maintenance, Parks and Recreation Maintenance Division would be able to tow the trailer to whatever location we are bringing it to. And then we would be able to assume the annual maintenance to the vehicle, or the trailer, sorry.
Mr. Smuckler, go ahead.
I'm sorry, it seems to me that you're glossing over costs. I understand that maintenance would do this, but many of these events are not 9 to 5 kinds of things. You have to pay people to do that. You have to hook up power. And the other part is you say that there's staff already there, but presumably they're there to do other jobs. If we don't have this now and they're taken away, who's going to do the jobs they're now doing?
Mr. Egan.
Yes. So many of our large events, our recreation maintenance staff work them, providing support, trash, electrical for events on the common, cleanup, setup, cleanup, so they are already there. We are able to have the trailer, if it's not an event that they would be working, delivered to the site, which we would lock up. The power is from a generator, so we would be able to hook the generator, turn the generator on, start the generator, and hook up the electrical power to it. And yes, we provide sensory support at a lot of our activities, but there's no separate space for it. It's usually a tent or off to the side. This would provide a more enclosed, friendly area for them.
Yeah, Alex, go ahead. Mr. Rutfield, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Alex Rutfield, Precinct 5. So what we're looking at is, we're spending $25,000, which in terms of the town budget really isn't much. We've been talking about stuff that's usually in the millions. The Overlook project's now going to cost over $2 million. This is not that much money. Now, I understand people are like, well, that doesn't mean you should just approve it because it's a little bit, and that's true too. But this will allow more kids to enjoy our events that they would otherwise have a lot more trouble with. And on top of that, someone brought up the idea of renting. But if this is up to 30 events a year, those rental costs are going to end up being a lot more than just this buy it once and it's good for several years. So this is a really good value. So I think this is a really good value to the town that could benefit a lot of kids who would otherwise have trouble with these kinds of events.
Thank you, Ms. Asher. And then we'll get to Mr. Lieber.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Kate Asher, Precinct 4. How much I've never heard of these, so I don't know anything about their effectiveness, or like the comment was made about the litigious potential risk there. So how much research has gone into that? Have you talked to the town council, this kind of thing? And I think one of the issues I'm having, and I've heard this, is, if someone has a sensory issue, I think of being calm outdoors in a quiet area with green and everything, but you put a kid in, closed space with a door closed, and so I'm trying to figure out, the effectiveness. So how much was looked into the actual effectiveness and the litigiousness? And I don't know if town council has thoughts.
Town council, do you have any thoughts on the litigious issues? Ms. Mead, please.
Mr. Egan hasn't spoken to me about this yet, but it's his practice and his department's practice. When they start a new program or offering new services, they come to me. We talk about releases and things of that nature relative to liability for the town.
So our therapeutic rec staff research these. The door doesn't close. The door stays open. And as I mentioned before, there is a parent guardian required to be with the participant during the use of the sensory activity trailer.
Mr. Lieber, here in the middle, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Blaise Lieber, Precinct 6. So I did hear you say this trailer is air conditioned and has heat. I think that's good actually in and of itself, because a lot of these, especially in the summer, notice it gets, it can be really hot on the town common. And my young kids that I've brought to some events there, even just from being too hot, sometimes it's like, well, we got to leave earlier than we wanted to. And if they had just some place that could cool down for a few minutes like this, I think that'd be a huge benefit too, because currently there's not any air conditioning anywhere on the town common. So, I mean, that'd be kind of useful. The other thing is, I just have a question. I did look up some of these different things. I tried finding some like reviews from people that actually use them. A lot of the stuff you see is positive. One question though is, I did notice some of the towns or communities that have these, they actually rent them out to, like if there's like a big function going on in the town, they can actually rent them to that. Like, I don't mean like a small like birthday party. I mean like sometimes on the town common, there's big events that aren't necessarily, run by the town. Is there any opportunity, do you think, to rent this type of equipment out? Of course, under supervision, but do you think there's any way to recoup some of this money by renting it out?
Mr. Egan.
We have not explored that idea, but we are more than willing to share it with other town departments, school departments, for their functions, as they would share space and facilities or equipment with us. So we would share it. We haven't explored the private portion of it, but it is something we could explore as long as we worked on liability and things like that.
Mr. Tate, and then we'll get to Ms. Byer.
David Tate, Precinct 5. I was also one of the negative votes on Ways and Means. I'm certainly in favor of this piece of equipment. I think it'll be something very useful for the town. There are two reasons I voted against it. One is, as we talk through this thing, Brendan's already said the cost is $60,000. So we don't know we can get this for $50,000, and we're appropriating and approving money for something that we already know we don't have the money for. So whether this is going to have to come back. Secondly, and more importantly, traditionally we see these capital expenditures at our May town meeting. We budget all of our warrant articles together, and we go through a whole gamut, a list of all these capital expenditures of what we do, and we traditionally don't see these in January. So I would recommend we push this off until the May town meeting, when we typically see these, firm up the budget, and I would welcome it at that time. But for right now, I'm going to vote.
Thank you, Mr. Tate. Ms. Wang.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Z Wang, Precinct 5. So I do support this article. I think this is a great idea. It's a valuable asset for our recreation department and our town. But then our town council just talking about liability. I do have a little bit concern of if there's a wheelchair accessible, like a fire safety, electrical safety, ventilation, temperature control. Someone else just mentioned that too. And who does the inspections, like yearly or what? And also, do we have liability insurance? Is this going to apply to this, and who's in charge? Like, this is some details I kind of want to know a little bit more. Thank you.
Mr. Egan.
Sure, I'm going to try to get them all there. It is climate controlled. There are multiple entrances, so the back of the trailer would fold down, and there is a side door. So it is accessible. Talked about climate controlled, and the inspection. There's not really anything out there on inspection. We could work with our Building Department, Board of Health to figure out an inspection plan for it and have it inspected annually. It's a trailer as opposed to a vehicle. Liability, I believe, will come in under the town's insurance coverage for automobiles and equipment. So I would have to look into the yearly inspection requirements for a trailer of that nature. And there's, we haven't been able to find any in New England, like as we mentioned previously. Alabama is the closest. I know they have some out on the West Coast, some in Ohio. That's the closest we found.
Ms. Byer.
Kathy Byer, Precinct 2. I'm familiar with sensory rooms because our daughter, who just turned 40 this year, has experience with that. I'm also very familiar with meltdowns in public and what that takes, and having difficulties even getting our daughter out of the area ever. And so I think I agree with Mr. Rutfield. I don't see that the 25,000. I'd like to see it go up when you get it funded so that it's going to cover the full 60,000 total. But I do have concerns about the logistics of the management of who goes in, who has access, for how long. The idea that somebody like our daughter, if she's in meltdown mode, is going to use it for 15 minutes and run out again, that's probably not going to happen. She will expect use of a sensory room, that she gets to go in there, especially if she's on overload, and she will want to stay there. And my experience with other autistic individuals that I've worked with is that's not an uncommon thing. I don't know about somebody with dementia or other things that was mentioned in the backup. So I would really like to know how the logistics of who is going to use it. Do kids get to go in there and cool down or warm up and play with stuff and then run back off? Because that's a very different use from the sensory rooms that I've seen used. I think it's a great idea. I'm having trouble wrapping my brain around it. But I also agree with Mr. Tate that I'd like to see you go for the full amount to get it covered. So that's it.
Mr. Egan, you care to respond? You don't have to.
I would just like to say that our trained therapeutic rec staff would work with the parent. I use the 15-minute, or guardian, I use the 15-minute as just an example. If the participant needed to stay in there longer, a participant needed to stay in there longer, that would be fine. We would just work with our therapeutic rec specialists would work with the parent guardian to determine how they were doing, the participant was doing.
Do you know how many individuals could use that at a time?
Our estimate is 4 to 6.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Pearson.
Monty Pearson, Precinct 3. Question is, in these 30 events that you have, they're usually here in town, and they are seem to be primarily directed towards the younger audience, towards kids and parents of kids. How many kids do you think would be using this trailer at an event that you had on the common with a lot of people?
Mr. Egan.
Thank you. So I just want to go back and also mention that we would use it at programs as well throughout the year as needed. So if we're providing support for a number of individuals at a program, and this would be a benefit for them if the program is outdoors, to have the trailer on site so that they have a spot that they can go calm down, deregulate. And then currently our caseload for our therapeutic rec division is approximately 130 families. They don't all come to every event. I think we would see more of them coming to our events if we had this available for their family member.
So we're talking about 130, 150 families in this town that can't take full advantage of your programming because they have a child who may not be able to handle all of the events going on, and they may not be able to participate at all in Halloween events or other things like that if we don't have some kind of service like that.
Potentially, yes.
So we're talking about 150 families?
Potentially, yes. There could be that many that could now potentially attend together, a family of 4 instead of maybe, a parent taking a child that does not need the sensory trailer by themselves, and another parent stays home or guardian.
It seems like a good ratio of people to 25,000.
Yes, up at the back, Jeff, Mr. DeBona.
Jeff DeBona, Precinct 3, move the question.
The question has been moved. All those in favor of moving the question? Opposed? Clear 2/3. Let's move on to a vote on it. All those in favor, please? Thank you. All those opposed? It's a clear majority. The motion passes. Okay, it finishes our financial articles. Let's move on to our general article, Article number 10, a sewer easement release that has been moved and seconded by the Ways and Means Committee to authorize the Select Board to change the use of an easement. And it is as printed in the warrants, 2/3 vote required. Who had a vote on this? Select Board? Mr. Priest?
Select Board voted 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Patrick Lawler, Assistant Town Administrator. This article is seeking to the authorization from town meeting to release a sewer easement that was originally effectuated in 1967. That easement is no longer needed. It is in the, you can go to the next slide to see exactly where it is, in the Elm Ave and Edgemont Ave, just off of Simons Park. That green stripe there is the actual easement. The easement is no longer needed, and because it's an interest in town property, a 2/3 vote in the affirmative by town meeting is required.
Thank you, Mr. Lawler. Any questions on this? Yes, Ms. Walensky.
Sarah Walensky, Precinct 5. My question is, who currently owns that land? Is it an easement in the sense that the land belongs to the underlying properties, or is that just a stripe of town-owned land? And I was interested in the question of disposition of this land. Does that mean the town is going to sell or otherwise get rid of it if it is, in fact, a town-owned piece of land? So some clarifying questions.
Mr. Lawler, please.
Sure. So the green stripe is just indicating where the easement is. The town is not the underlying property owner of those parcels. So what this would do is authorize us to release the easement, and so that there is no longer an easement running through those properties. And this is not, Article 10 is not disposing or seeking a disposition, just a release. We will see a disposition in a moment, but just a release for Article 10.
Mr. Webb. Hold on, Mr. Webb. Please get a microphone.
Sorry. Dave Webb, Precinct 7. Just a quick question. So there's no purchasing of land or anything associated with this, just an easement that goes away from the map of these property owners?
Mr. Waller.
That's correct, sir. Thank you.
Anything additional? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? Thank you. All those opposed? Appears to be unanimous, which is more than 2/3, so the motion passes. Which brings us to Article 11. It's been moved and seconded by the Ways and Means Committee, and it is as printed in the warrant, but to see if the town will vote to transfer the care, custody, management, and control of land identified on one of the town's assessor's maps. Selectmen, a vote on this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Select Board voted 4-1.
Thank you. Ways and Means?
Ways and Means approve this 1101.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Lawler, your turn again.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. We have just one or two slides here to walk us through this. So this article is seeking town meeting's approval to permit the town to sell a town-owned parcel or to authorize a select board to negotiate the disposition of what is now a town-owned parcel. So this is a little bit of a unique circumstance we have here. 0 Polk Street, as it is known, is a small parcel off of Humboldt Ave, which is off of Terrace Hall Avenue. It was obtained in 1978 as a result of a foreclosure. So there was unpaid property taxes on the property, and at that time it was foreclosed upon with tax title, through the tax title process, excuse me. So typically what happens when there's a tax title sale of a property, that does not need to come before town meeting. Mass general law allows the town to basically take the property and then auction it in a public process. However, in this situation, there were the auction was advertised, the auction occurred, and there was no interested parties. After that, what happened was the town transferred the property to itself, which is not always the common action for a tax title taking. But in this case, that's what happened. The town took ownership of the property, and that is why the disposition now requires town meeting, or the potential disposition requires town meeting approval. Thinking about the land, it is just a small parcel, 25-foot frontage, 2,615 square feet. The town does not have a use or a purpose for this land. That was, examined pretty exhaustively. It is not a budding town property. It wouldn't be suitable for. We don't need an easement in the area. It wouldn't be suitable for a municipal purpose. In its size, it's very small. It's not buildable on its own. And the assessed value of the parcel right now is $15,600, and it's a town-owned parcel. It has been since 1978. We haven't collected taxes on it since before 1978 because it was foreclosed upon for tax delinquency. So if approved, the sale of this property would be a public sale. It would be managed through our procurement office. There is interest in this property based on the transitions that are going on in the neighborhood for development. And what we are aware of is that the potential ability to increase the size of the abutting parcels may increase the inherent value of this property. So right now it has a value based on its use or its lack of use. But we know that interested parties may have a little bit more to do with the parcel if it is combined and approved through the planning board process, should that circumstance occur. I'm speaking in hypotheticals here because I know that's a question that's been generated about the property. There's also been some questions about the cost related to the property, and there would be some nominal cost from a legal perspective to clean up the title through the court generate a certificate. Any costs that we incur would also be considered in that sale price. So, surveying or certificate work, we would also consider in that. Like I said, the town has owned this property since 1978, and the next picture here just gives you an idea where it is. It's a very small parcel, and we are asking town meeting to authorize the select board through their designee to negotiate a sale acceptable to the select board for the best terms and conditions on behalf of the town.
Ms. Simons.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Martha Simon, Precinct 3. The map that I saw in one of the materials didn't look like it was over there. It looked like it went through to the Francis Wyman property. Does this parcel connect or abut the Francis Wyman property?
Mr. Lawler.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. No, it does not. It is not connected to or
right.
abutting. I mean, it is.
If it did, I thought there might be other uses, but
that's what we investigated that as well, just given the area. It's about 3 or 4 parcels away from the.
Is that Terrace Hall down on the bottom there?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Excuse me. Mimi, go ahead. Ms. Bix Highland.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mimi Bix Highland, Precinct 1. I have a lot of concern about this, and I really read the warrant article carefully, did some research. My concern is this. Burlington has so many overdeveloped properties on small lots, and because Burlington doesn't have a tree conservation policy, in all likelihood, if town meeting approves this, what will happen is that developers will raise it and another big property will go up on a very small plot. I would like to see instead that the town, that this come back to town meeting with a caveat that the selling will occur with a conservation restriction to keep it as green. If the town doesn't take any measures to keep tiny lots like this green, the overdevelopment just continues. And I'm just wondering, how many of these small lots exist in the town of Burlington? And does the town plan on selling all of them?
Mr. Lawler.
Thank you. Yes, I understand the first part of your article. This is, not necessarily a strategic sale of the town, but it allows us to manage the process a little bit more closely. And that's why it's a little bit different, because normally this would be a tax title auction process. So, I can't say that selling this property is part of the strategic goals and decisions of the town. It provides us option to do so based on what we know to be, or what we believe to be interest in the parcel. And actually, to your second question about what are these sort of small parcels throughout the town, there are some of them. What we do on a frequent basis, and one of the things that we're doing now, is to investigate those, understand what's happening on those small parcels. There are not many in this situation, or if any, like this. There was one sold for tax title on Victor Ave, which happens to be close to this in 2017, which is a small parcel that became part of another one, I believe, and it's just a, additional land that somebody was able to acquire and make their parcel bigger to enjoy that recreation or leisure space there. So it is something that we've been talking about and have begun to look at and identify town parcels for either potential disposition based on their characteristics, or what other strategic objectives can we accomplish with those properties.
Go ahead.
I understand that the assessed value is quite low, but in all practicality, the market value is going to be high because this will present abutters with an opportunity to purchase it and enlarge in their plot. I, for one, cannot support this, but I would consider it if it came back to town meeting with that caveat that there will be a conservation restriction to keep it green. Thank you.
Mr. Brooks, and then we'll go to Mr. Campbell.
Jason Brooks, Precinct 6. Just looking at the street view maps of this, it looks like that there's actually two properties abutting, and there's already a shed on that property. Am I mistaken on that, or?
You are not mistaken on that.
Okay. Is that the interested party?
I believe it may have been, we have been approached by the person that had the shed on the property at one point about the property, but we don't necessarily have an interested party right now that I can point to that we're in contact with.
Mr. Campbell, yes.
Chris Campbell, Precinct 1. So I was the one that abstained on Ways and Means, and one of the reasons was exactly what was just brought up, is that there actually was a structure on this property, and I had concerns that we have some surplus properties that aren't being managed, and wanted to really dig into making sure that this isn't happening, and we're not trying to rush this, because there are potentially 3 abutters here that are really interested in this, and just trying to slow down the process a little bit and making sure that all of the due diligence is done. The house to the left is currently going to be redone, and so there definitely is interest among 3 of these properties, and for us as town meeting to kind of rush this vote when there was already existing structure, and then trying to find out what other surplus properties are out there, how are we managing that, how do we need to determine what needs to be sold, what needs to be kept, and then the value. That value is going to have a significant value above $15,000 to those 3 different abutters, and how are we going to properly manage that? So I just had too many questions to be able to vote for or against it.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Yes, sir, up the back.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Bill Lozano, Precinct 4. I live in this neighborhood. I know that one of the abutters that is closest to Humboldt Ave, I believe that house was just sold. It looks like they're about to knock it down. To me, it seems like there's got to be interest from a party that somebody knows about. The other abutter, that's a brand new house that was probably finished in the last year or so. I'd like to hear a dissenting view or the opinion from the select board. And, you know, as the warrant says, upon town meeting's approval, the select board, through their designee, will advertise the property. So this means the select board then gets to approve of the real estate company that is selling the property? Is that? It just seems fishy and weird.
So I'll answer that part, and no intention of being fishy. This is the process for disposing of town land. So the select board it's in their care and custody. So what that means is the select board has the ability to authorize the town administrator, for example, to then begin a public process to sell the land. That is just how that process would work. So we wouldn't be engaging with a broker necessarily. We would be working with our real estate land attorneys to march that process forward. And then,
yeah. So, Bill, to answer the other part of your question, I was the dissenting vote. At face value, there's nothing really wrong with this, you know, and you guys can vote either way. I had the concern around the notion of density issues, right? So I wasn't unaware of what was being built or how it was being handled, but down the road, if one of those properties obtains that land, right, then they could build a larger house, split the lot, build 2 houses, right? And, you know, we've seen in our neighborhood some folks kind of getting sneaky with their submissions to ZBA and planning board. Not to you guys, it kind of got stopped at ZBA, but, you know, just no, I'm not throwing you to the bus, Jeff. It was the guy over on Harvard who was trying to split the lot. It couldn't be split. He was manipulating the submission form to make it look like you could. And because he had to notify the abutters, and we were one of them, we saw it and it looked fishy and we called it out. I say that to mean that people are looking to split lots left, right, and center to throw houses up, and I just didn't see that that was a value in this neighborhood. So I said no.
Okay, just to follow up, Mr. Moderator, just really a comment. For $15,600, I would rather keep the green space. I would rather keep this builder that's building on the corner of Humboldt, Humboldt and Clonmel or Polk, from making an exorbitant amount of money from this really small piece of land. For $15,000, I say just keep it under town's ownership.
Thank you. And just to respond to that, $15,600 is the current assessed value. That is not dictating our sale price. I think that part of the what is included in the backup and what was explained a little bit earlier is the conditions that this parcel may create would be part of that sales price. So that would be, we expect it would be higher than that if there was a property owner that was interested in doing what you've explained. I think that anecdotally we've heard from a couple of neighbors that either may want to do what you're suggesting, sir, or some that may want to just expand their lot to have more green space. We've heard anecdotally, just to caution town meeting, both.
Mr. Connors. Sorry, I didn't see you. The question has been moved. All those in favor? Thank you. All those opposed? It is clearly not a two-thirds, so let's continue the debate. Yes, sir.
Okay, it's on. The clear and patent fact is that this house to the left of the lot has been redeveloped. The house to the right, I think it's 28-9 Humboldt, is about to be redeveloped. There's a giant excavator in the front yard. And the owner of that house, or the previous owner before the developer acquired it, is using it as if it was their lot. And so the question is what they can do with a lot were they to purchase it. And I think I can summarize what they would be allowed to do and what they wouldn't be allowed to do with it. But I'm an amateur and I saw some recognition from the planning director, and I would like us to ask for a summary of what could be done were the lot purchased. I think subdividing and building 2 McMansions is not the answer. So I just want to clarify. Thank you.
Go ahead, Liz.
Hi. Okay, so Planning Director Liz Bonventry. So what this would allow the purchaser of the property to do would be to expand their setbacks. So back to the first article of the day. So this would give them a larger building area that they could build a home in. It's still going to be the same. It's 15 feet on the sides and rear. So it would give them an extra 15 feet of buildable property. Or actually, I don't know what the depth is, but it would give them extra property to build on.
Ms. Walensky, then we'll come to Mr. Glantz, we haven't heard from tonight.
Sarah Walensky, Precinct 5. I just want to add my opinion to what we heard earlier from Mimi Bixhilen, that in a town that is really starved for open space and green space, the idea of willingly giving up a portion of land that we all own now so that somebody can have a bigger house doesn't really appeal to me that much. Just wanted to get that out there. We need more trees.
Thank you. Who did I just say I was going to next? I'm sorry, Mr. Glantz, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Nolan Glantz, Precinct 1. How did this parcel come to be a parcel? Because I thought it normally would need 100 feet of frontage or half-acre zoning. Like, how did this even become a thing? Like, why is it not already, from way back when, part of one of the other lots?
Mr. Lawler, please.
Thank you. Sure, that's a good question, and it's not an answer that we have entirely clear. This area, when it was developed, it may have been the differentiation of different lots that were drawn out at the time. Things happen, over time with surveys. Is the best guess that we can provide to this. That at some point, one surveyor drew one map for the neighborhood and decided how it was going to be developed, and then either they ran out of room coming around the corner or something changed in the records. It's all the way back to the 60s. So we don't know exactly how it occurred, but we do know that in the late 70s, or in the 70s, we identified it as a property that was delinquent on taxes, and then they probably, my guess is, decided not to pay on the taxes because they had no use for it, and it was not functional. So that's our best guess, but there's not a ton of research on this because of the time it was done and based on the little records of it and as its uniqueness as a parcel.
Go ahead.
Thank you. A quick follow-up is a suggestion or comment. I think the only real use for it would be for one of those butters, and I would think it'd be extremely valuable to them. So if we do wind up selling it, it would create a lot of value to them. So that would certainly be part of the negotiation, especially since, given the other comments here, if this does pass, we should certainly be willing to walk away if they're not really willing to compensate for it and just keep it green and keep their sheds off of it and keep them, away from it and not using it as if it was their yard. But they get to have a mini park next to them, woohoo. But that certainly should be part of it.
Absolutely agree.
Mr. Davison.
Doug Davison, Precinct 2. So we discussed this in Ways and Means quite a bit, but say the body votes no and the town keeps this property, then we have to maintain it. Because right now there is a landowner that has mowed it and put a shed on it, and so does that mean we're going to have somebody that works for the town drive over there with the lawnmower once a week and mow it? Do we, what does that mean for our responsibility if we keep it?
Mr. Lawler, please.
So that's a good question, and I think that it does present some challenges for us as a town, recognizing that the parcel does have some structures on it now, and whether or not those structures are hazardous or when I say hazardous, I mean more like the trees. But if town meeting voted no, we would likely issue some sort of enforcement order for the shed that exists there to be removed from the property. The maintenance aspect of it, we wouldn't be mowing it every week. I think that would be very unlikely. But I think that it would cause us to monitor what's going on with the property and probably dedicate some resources to that, considering what's happening with the neighborhood, but being the redevelopment of some areas. So I don't imagine it's going to be a huge maintenance burden, if you will, but it is something that we'd have to, spend some resources and time dedicated to figuring out a way to get the property in appropriate shape.
Go ahead, Doug.
Does create a concern because none of us would want a 25-foot wide strip of land next to our property that is weeds or, I do think we have responsibility then for that. It's between two homes. It's not big enough to be a park. It's not a open space. It's just a 25-foot strip of grass and trees that needs to be maintained.
Yes, I think that, there would definitely be some concerns there, and that's sort of the uniqueness of this property is why we brought it for a town meeting to ultimately make a decision as a body to understand what we ought to do with this property, and how to dispose of it and how to maintain it properly.
Mr. Donahue.
Mark Donahue, Precinct 5. I have two questions. First, I'd like to know what precipitated this sale. Was it brought to you by the developer? And the second is the house next door conforming right now as we speak?
Mr. Lawler, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Yes, so over the summer, we received several phone calls in a few different departments in town asking about the property. I think there was some assumptions that people owned the property themselves, and those things had to be cleared up. There was some interest in acquisition of the property. There was interest in, who's maintaining the property. There was interest in things like who possesses the property based on being there for a long time. So we had to do a little bit of research based on the uniqueness of it. So I think that there is some, what I'll say, anecdotal interest from a number of abutters. And as far as the conforming, I'm going to ask the planning director, if I may, Mr. Moderator, to answer that.
Ms. Bonventura, please.
I apologize. I do not know off the top of my head if the house is conforming. It depends upon when it was built. But I do know that if it was built in the last 20 years, I definitely know that our building department is on top of that and make sure that everything's conforming, but I can't speak to the current conformity of the existing house.
I'll get to him. Ms. Simons.
I would appreciate it if you could tell us which streets those are and where the property is.
Excuse me, who's speaking? Excuse me, and you are?
Pardon?
And you are?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Martha Simon, Precinct 3.
Thank you.
I live near that neighborhood and I walk there frequently. So how is that related to the photograph? If you could.
The same thing. Yeah, it's the same photograph. One is I'm sorry. Mr.
Are they in the
Moderator,
same orientation?
Yes. One is a topographic, one is an aerial photo, and the other is an assessor's map or a tax map from our GIS tool.
Okay, so my understanding is that that's one of our older neighborhoods, and there's quarter-acre lots there, so that each of those houses is on approximately a quarter acre, and somebody can confirm that for me if you want, which means that the concern that Mr. Priest raised about adding that and splitting the lot is not in the real world. So I don't think that's what's happening. I also wanted to know, Mr. Davison, you mentioned that, and I didn't remember the exact dimensions, but is it a 25-foot width of that property? Can somebody show us what 25-foot, it seems to me that it would be like from Mr. Lawler to me, is maybe 25 feet, and the length of it would be from that wall to that wall. So we're talking about just a strip of land that is not a buildable property, and if it were added to either house on either side, it would not allow for any splitting of properties. Is that an accurate description?
Based on the planning director's nodding of her head, that's correct.
Okay. And my other memory, and confirming what Mr. Lozano said, is that the house, the brown house on the far left, and then the one to the left of it, have already, the old houses have been torn down and new homes have been put in there. I think they're both over $1 million. And the corner lot on the other side of this strip is also about to be demolished. So I don't see any reason to be skeptical about what the developers are going to do to it. So I am definitely in favor of open space and trees. I mean, I don't know that the town could plant trees there. I've heard you describe, are there trees on this property already?
I believe there are, yes.
Yeah, and so if the butter on either side wanted to keep it, wanted to purchase it, it seems likely they'd leave some of the trees because that's their yard, that would then become their yard. So I'm concerned that people are worrying that this is a buildable lot or something like that, and I just wanted to clarify those. Thank you.
Mr. Salamone.
Tony Salamone, Precinct 7. Mr. Lawler or Town Council, do you foresee any issues around adverse possession since this has been maintained possibly by a neighbor for 10 to 20 years now?
We haven't done a full examination of the prior use. We looked at the warrant article, but we haven't actually examined the deed and the use of it. So, obviously there are questions. It's very difficult to undertake adverse possession against a municipality. Not impossible, but very difficult.
Mr. DeBona.
Hello, Jeff DeBona, Precinct 3. As most of you probably know, I'm the chair of the ZBA, so I wanted to clear up a few questions ZBA-wise with that. So the parcel you see on the left is 100 by 100. It's 10,000 square feet. It's pre-existing non-conforming. Parcel on the right, 100 by roughly 124. It's roughly 11,300 square feet, also pre-existing non-conforming. If that lot was added to either of those, there is no possibility of anyone trying to split that lot. Everyone is entitled to their day in court. They could come with a proposal, but it does not mean they would get it. If you are going for a variance, you have to prove a hardship related to the land, and a hardship for splitting that, it would be hard-pressed to be able to make that work. And as far as the question earlier about why it's 25 feet, that whole area, the plot plans date back to 1910 over there. They were all drawn as 25-foot camp lots, and people bought as many parcels as they could afford and kind of put them together like Legos. So you'll see every lot is kind of different in size because that's what someone bought at that time. Thank you.
Ms. Beyer.
Kathy Beyer, Precinct 2. I'm looking, could you go to the next one with the picture? That one, and zoom in, like you did on the map. Yes. Okay, so that looks like, we were looking at setbacks earlier, and if you look at that newer house and how close it is up to the parcel line to meet with the zoning bylaws, that would have to be a 15-foot difference there. So I'm not sure that that looks like that's not 15 feet from that property.
This is just from the GIS tool. This is not an official survey. Those are very broad estimates, and those cannot be used for determining setbacks.
Thank you, because that is confusing. So probably that triangle or the rectangle gets moved over to the right somewhat. That's fine. And then the other thing was that Mr. Donahue's question was not answered. And that question was for the house on the right. Excuse me. My question is to you. For the house on the right, the question wasn't answered about the developer. Is there a developer who is currently looking at that property and looking at the development of that and looking to build a much bigger property, which the developer can do if they purchase that piece of town land? And then one more thing is there's a lot of places to plant trees in town. And so some of this also is looking, zoning would be looking at conforming with the neighborhood and the houses that are there and looking at the neighborhood overall, but my personal opinion is I don't see a reason to hold on to that strip of land. But I do think that there's a big interest looking first of all at the setback for the newer house and making sure that that meets the zoning bylaws. And then I'm interested in how much bigger of a house the developer could build. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lawler, can you take a shot at that?
I think so. I think the question related to, is there a developer interested in doing something in that property, which is 29 Humboldt on the corner there. So I believe that property has been sold. As Mr. Parsons said, there is an excavator out front, or there was. I can't say with certainty what anybody is going to do with property that they have acquired. I can't say with certainty what that may look like, but I think that one can draw conclusions based on activity at the site.
That 25 extra feet gives whoever just purchased that property a lot more room to build a much bigger house.
Yes, I think that is a very fair conclusion. If somebody
is going to be worth a lot more than $15,000 to that developer.
I think one can assume that as well, and that would be part of our analysis would be if this was to be approved and there was interest from someone who wanted to go to the planning board process and then increase the lot size, there would be an analysis of here's what you can build now and here's what you might be able to build maybe from a square footage perspective, and then that would inform us on how much we would actually be interested in developing terms for the disposition.
And with a bigger, newer house on that property, the town will be collecting more taxes, which right now they're not collecting anything on that strip.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Sinesi.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Adam Sinesi, Precinct 1. Move the question.
Okay. All those in favor of moving the question? Thank you. All those opposed? It's a clear two-thirds majority. Let's move on to vote on the main motion. It's a two-thirds, so hold your hands up straight. All those in favor? Thank you. All those opposed? It's a clear two-thirds, and the motion passes. Okay, Article 12 has been withdrawn, which brings us to Article 13. It has been moved and seconded by the Ways and Means Committee to see if the town will vote to amend Article 1 of the Town of Burlington General Bylaws to limit repeat articles at town meeting. Presented by the General Bylaw Review Committee. Did anyone take a position on this? Other than General Bylaw Review Committee? Mr. Sinesi on Rules Committee, please. Yes.
Testing. Rules Committee voted 8-0 in favor.
Okay, thank you. General Bylaw Review Committee, vote.
Phyllis Neufeld, General Bylaw Review Committee, we voted 7-0-0 in favor.
Okay, and who's going to speak on it?
Susan Cadillac from the committee is going to speak on it.
Well, please come up front, please, as the presenter.
Leave the mic.
grab the yellow one, Susan.
Thank you. The select board did vote on this as well. So this is to limit repeat articles, to have kind of a one-year cooling off period. So since, okay. Is this better? Okay, I'll sit down. Okay. There we go. Since January 2023, we've had 4 proposals related to accessibility and hybrid meetings. Just this past year, we had the stormwater amendment come before town meeting. It failed, immediately came back again. So what this proposal is doing is to limit the number of times that the same article can come back within a 1-year period, with the cooling off period to give the person or committee who's proposing it some time to get some more feedback, and that's actually where this article came from. The General Bylaw Review Committee, as well as some town meeting members, gave us some feedback as why are these articles coming before us again and again. A lot of them are not really changed. It's a lot of time for town meeting, a lot of time in front of councils and committees. So that was where this came from.
Okay, thank you. Questions on this? Mr. Sinesi, Rules Committee, take a stand? That's right. All right, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Adam Sinesi, Precinct 1. Obviously, I supported this as a member of the Rules Committee, but I think that this is a really good idea. You know, look around this room and you got 126 volunteers that do a lot for the town. So I think if someone wants to push a measure through, come to town meeting, getting buttoned up, perform your due diligence, shoot your shot, but bring your A game, and bring it the first time. The other thing, I just want to encourage people that, you know, there are several subcommittees of town meeting, Ways and Means, Capital Budget, the Rules Committee, General Bylaw. Take advantage of those subcommittees and use them as a sounding board to help fine-tune your proposals, so when you do come to town meeting, you've been given feedback already and you have some read on how the room will likely go.
Thank you, Mr. Sinesi. Further questions, comments? Yes, Ms. Wang.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Z1 from Precinct 5. I'm strongly against this article. First, I think it's a little bit vague when we talk about substantive and or like a material changes. Who defines that? Who proves that? Of course, like if also we've been talking about giving power to one committee, one board, one commission. We debated like multiple times. I think this is a good example of giving too much power to one committee. And then we are town meeting members. We need to bring articles, like warrant articles to us. That's why we're here. We debate about it. And this happened in the past. And I think most of you also know General Bylaw Committee, they have 7 members, and 3 out of 7, they are non-town meeting members. Do we really want to have like almost half of the committee members prove something or block a warrant article that's supposed to bring to us? So myself, I don't think we should pass this, and if a warrant article bring to us, we talk about it, we can vote it yes, we're down the first time. If a second time bring to us, we don't like it, we can vote it down again. You know, I don't think it's a big deal, but if you only give this power to one committee, have like 3 members out of 7, they're all non-town meeting member, why would we want to do that? So that's just my concern. Thank you.
Susan, comment, reply.
Just want to comment on 2 things. One, it does not go in front of one committee. That was one thing that we wanted to make sure of. So it does need a majority vote of both the General Bylaw Review Committee and the Select Board as well. And that was very purposeful so that it is in front, it's not just up to one board. And, you know, the substantive changes, material changes, I mean, that's what the councils and committees are here for, to sit in those meetings, listen to the arguments, and then bring them back to this body so that when we come before you and say, one or two voted against it, to be able to ask, what was the reason, for us to be able to say this was the reason, and for you to hear that, where we have sat through these presentations and had these discussions. I think that's the job of the councils and committees, is to support town meeting and gather that information and make sure that we're presenting that to you.
Mr. Rutfield, and then we'll get Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Alex Rutfield, Precinct 5. Well, if I remember correctly, though, the remote meeting one had to come back the next meeting, mostly because of some technical issues that weren't properly resolved earlier. And this doesn't actually cover any technical changes. It's just substantive material. So if the wording is wrong compared to like a state law, and we're trying to figure that out, then that's not necessarily something we should wait a year for, but it's not covered here. And if the general bylaw just happened to not like it for some reason the first time around, like if the general bylaw happened to be like dead against remote meetings disproportionately to this full body, then those technical changes would have had to sit for a year. So this could be a huge blocker to stuff that should be properly considered again and failed the first time due to simple logistical or technical issues.
Mr. Glantz. Oh, no, excuse me, Mr. Kelly, I'm sorry.
Jack Kelly, Precinct 7. I don't know what substantive and material changes are. How do you measure that? Who determines it?
Susan, go
But
ahead.
it's a requirement.
Yeah, so for example, stormwater came back with a name change. Essentially, there were, two name changes. So, I think that's why we have it, that it has to be voted by two separate committees, so that you can have an explanation. You can have an explanation as to why it was voted the way it was, so that it's in front of
Subjective.
multiple
If the applicant
people.
thinks it's substantial and you don't, I just don't know how you define substantial and material.
Yeah, here we go. Go ahead, John.
Hello.
Oh, I'm losing names.
Ed Parsons,
Thank you, Ed.
Precinct 6. This is not ready for prime time. What was just explained to us is clearly contrary to the language right here in the amendment. Mr. Rutfield is correct that the accessibility articles were delayed. They weren't voted and then voted again. And Mrs. Wang is correct that, as well as Mr. Kelly, that it is entirely unclear who is to judge what is substantive and or material.
No, it's not.
And it does not specify that that's determined by both the Select Board and by the General Bylaw Review Committee. It states that they have to unanimously vote to restore the right of the town meeting to debate any lawfully forwarded article as we choose and for how long we choose to debate it. I'm just uncomfortable with deferring that authority. And if we see an article again that we don't want to debate any further, it takes just one person to move the question, and if 50% of this body doesn't want to debate it anymore, we vote it down and it's done. So this just seems like a solution looking for a problem.
Go ahead, Susan.
So it's not a unanimous vote, it's a majority vote, and it's both committees, of two committees.
Mr. Glantz, and then Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Nolan Glantz, Precinct 1. I think that this somewhat conceptually has some good points, but generally I think we definitely do not need this to be as a bylaw for two reasons. One is there are many times where we're debating something and we say, we've got kind of an issue here, let's not quite do this, but go fix something to the proponent and come back. We maybe vote it down, they go fix something, they come back. And rather than deferring that to a subcommittee to decide whether they've changed it enough to their liking, I'd rather see it come back. And number two, I think, as you just said, Mr. Parsons, market forces will dictate. Someone who got lambasted in the first time is not going to come back and get lambasted again. They're just not going to want to. And or if they come back and we don't want to, then it's very easy for us to just say, no, forget it, go away, rather than having these other committees do that for us. I'd rather see this not be a bylaw. I'd rather let town meeting decide.
Mr. Campbell.
Chris Campbell, Precinct 1. I believe we started town meeting by one of our town meeting members asking what is the purpose of town meeting. Purpose of town meeting is to review and then debate valid warrant articles and vote them up and down. And I think taking that power away from us as a board and as a town meeting is not what we want, is not what this democracy is designed for. It's perfectly okay that we come here, we have conversations, and then we send articles back when they're not ready or they need tweaking. But for that to limit it for an entire year, maybe we were a couple away and we just weren't quite there. I don't know why we're so afraid to bring articles to this board, this committee, and have these good conversations from the varying opinions that we have. So to limit this to 2 boards to be able to determine what could come back to us or not, I would not be in favor, and I'd be wanting to postpone this at least.
Mr. Maury.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Bruce Maury, Precinct 1. Just a point of clarification. This is for items, warrant articles that are defeated, correct? Not postponed or withdrawn or go back and get your crap in order, pardon my language. It's those that are defeated. They need to come back and have substantial material changes before it's allowed again, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Ms. Byer.
Kathy Byer, Precinct 2. That says no proposed general bylaw. It doesn't say warrant articles. It's not general. It says only for you and your own committee. Why do you need to put that into an actual bylaw? That's your operating within the committee for general bylaws. Is there something there I'm not seeing?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. We're not the only place where general bylaws are created. Other places come to us with general bylaws, so they don't all come from our committee. It's very common that other committees or even citizens will come to us with bylaws that they're proposing.
But they're coming through you, and so that's your own internal process. This looks to me like a solution in search of. You don't need this layer of
yes, they do.
Administration added into our general bylaws. That's just general operating stuff. Somebody else brings it back through, you work it through the committee. Warrant articles, if they want to bring them back to us, except for zoning, which is 2 years if it's defeated. But the others, they come back. If they have not made the substantial changes or sometimes it's very small changes, that's all that's needed. If they didn't make any changes, the person loses credibility. And that's not good for them. So to maintain credibility, they're going to fix stuff, bring it back to us, we're going to look at it and reconsider it. I don't see that it's a problem. So thank you. Let me give you back to you.
Anything additional? Let's put this to a vote then. All those in favor? Thank you. All those opposed? The motion fails. And it's, it's only 10:15. We can't possibly leave this early. It's time for a minute.
Yeah, we could bring it back. I don't think we'll be make it our own.
Good night. Stay warm.
Let's talk about that. Okay. Thank you very much. You did a great job.
I've never done this.